So I wanted to take you in behind the scenes because one thing I do for my clients, just a little fun, by the way, gift, is give them a mini business reading from their human design chart. So this one is a 2 for manifesting generator, Jeanine, and she's currently doing engineering work. She's been able to work from home sometimes. Now she hasn't so much, so she's kind of like, should I change my role? Should I not? So here's what I found out for her. Her role in the workplace is to teach other people how to filter out their bias to arrive at the truth, which is actually, when you think about it, exactly the way she approaches her engineering. It's not a case of, I just crunch numbers for you. To her, it's arriving at truth. Can we fix this airplane this way or not? And I want you to get rid of any bias you have of we should be able to, and we should be getting this plane out in time. No, no, no. The truth. What is best for this airplane? Okay? And she is able to do so effectively because she's had to get over cynicism. Using any time she felt cynical as a gift and not being a victim to it. Because, admittedly, it is really easy for her to get cynical as an engineer and be like, nobody cares about the actual airplane and the people riding on that airplane and whether or not they're going to crash. All they want is their metrics of how many birds they got through, right? So when she gets over that and she helps people get to the truth, that's kind of what her vocation is. But she's got a couple other things that are her special sauce. She also helps people release their grip and develop discernment. So, not knowing specifics, what I'm guessing is she's helping people release their grip around the timelines and what's going to take and what's the right fix and the material to use on that aircraft. And she's helping them develop discernment. Like maybe she's mentoring some of the other engineers or just learn to discern when an ask is too big and they need to condemn the part and completely do something else versus when they could fix the part to fix the plane. And then something they do not necessarily expect about working with Jeanine is how she is committed to using her influence with integrity and embracing all aspects of life. Because to her, this isn't just a number cruncher position. To her, this is, do people fly safely on this airplane? And she feels that she is, in a sense, leading in that way by saying, you will have the safest plane I can get you so that you can get to where you're going safely. And also the embracing all aspects of life. You got a coworker, she's got coworkers who are sick or maternity leave, whatever. She's like, yeah, of course, I understand. I've got kids. I understand. We're gonna work around this. Okay? Now, for Jeanine, her engineering is supposed to become a source of prosperity. It could get income when she allows herself to gain experience over time and focus on getting even better at solving problems, which is exactly what she's done because she's now a senior engineer, aka she's gotten the experience and she's even better at solving problems. So you can see some of this chart stuff you've already done, and some of it is stuff that you have to remind yourself to lean into. So this is a case of she has already done, like she's master at this. And then specifically, if you were to brand how is she as an engineer, it's open-minded curiosity. She comes at every new repair from an approach of, oh, I'm curious. What would be the best way to solve this? The best fasteners, the best materials. How should we do it this time? Okay. And then she has a really interesting one, aesthetics. She needs to convey her brand of curiosity through aesthetics. And she might not think of her engineers, but it means either she wants to present her work or herself, maybe her tone as she writes out these engineering reports in an aesthetically pleasing way, a very recognizable way, and she cares about the details and how it looks. Okay? So, whatever exactly she's doing, the aesthetics and image resonate with her. I'm going to encourage her to lean into that because that is actually a very crucial role. Now, visibility for her in her career is all centered around finding what's essential. I can imagine that might be in your resume if you highlight what is essential and the core aspects of what you've done. And maybe it's other things, but your visibility is directly tied to finding what is essential. Now, the reason Jeanine got into this work, this engineering in the first place, because she was willing to grow, push to stretch herself. She's like, I think I could hack it. Why not find out? Okay. And then the higher purpose behind her choice of engineering was embracing her true nature because someone told her, I think you'd be really good at this. And she was like, you're right. I think I will. I'm going to go for something that uses my natural abilities. Okay. And then the lessons she's learned along the way, according to her chart, are about competence and sudden clarity. And from what she said, that is totally true. She has learned how to get good at stuff and how to create avenues for that clarity to pop in, how to get the light bulb moment when you're just like, I cannot solve this. How do you make space for the aha? She's learned how to do so. And as you can guess, that is a really valuable trait. Now, what she likes to talk about. Now, if she was in business, this would be like her content themes. So since she's not in business, this may be simply frequent theme in her conversations with her coworkers. It's actually kind of unusual because again, she's an engineer, right? Math heavy. Her content, her themes, what she talks about is feeling the entire emotional spectrum and embracing your true nature. So that's kind of interesting, isn't it? Maybe she's talking to people about how to process and handle it when the boss dumps a lot of work on them, or when the mechanics don't like the fix you told them, when your leadership is putting pressure on you. I don't know, but it is feeling all the emotions and realizing what your gifts are and sticking to them. Now, the people she needs to work with, so contractors, managers, bosses, whatever, need to have two values. They take decisive action to move forward, and they have realism. In other words, they don't pie in the sky say, fix this bird in 2 weeks when it's a fix that's going to take 60 days of overtime. They need to be realistic and they need to see realism when it hits them in the face. They also need to be able to take decisive action to move forward. In other words, if you say, this part is fixed, all the parts I have on the shelf to fix this airplane are, sorry, this part is broken. All the parts on the shelf are broken. We need to get a new supplier because they keep sending us broken parts. And you don't do anything to do that. She's going to hate working with those people and they are going to hate working with her because she's always nothing like, this is a problem. I cannot do my job correctly. Change this. Okay. She will have a very harmonious working relationship with her manager or subcontractors or whoever. If they're like, oh, yeah, we see a problem. Sure. Let me go see what we can do. Can we write a new contract, get a new supplier? Now, her people around her also appreciate the fact that she is seeking a higher purpose. And this is actually ironically most felt when she becomes an independent contributor or an entrepreneur and gives herself creative freedom, not worrying about how it's going to be received, just creating the idea. However, to do that, she has to stop a tendency towards excessive materials. Now, in this case, I think we can easily interpret excessive materialism as you're getting good money in your corporate job as an engineer, and it feels really risky and maybe low money to go out on your own. That's the shackle, that's the role, that's the shadow. Now, she doesn't necessarily have to start a business, but what this does say is that she probably needs to become a contractor or an engineering consultant. And that is how she's truly going to feel the most satisfaction because it's an entrepreneur marker in her chart. So, yes, you don't necessarily have to. Like, there are ways to become a kind of a contractor, consultant, but she needs to move in that direction for optimum satisfaction. Now, her before and after 40s. And again, there's usually like a 2 year gap. So somewhere in that 38 to 42, she transitions. First, she helped people who need competence. Totally true. She was in companies, roles, positions. They're like, I need a competent engineer to crunch these numbers, make sure this repair is going to work. After 40, she is now after 40, she is helping people who need her unique talent because she's gone into so many different skill sets. She's actually gotten quite niche and narrow. And now she's getting people coming to her saying, I need this brand of stress analysis that you do because we can go to a dozen engineers and only two of them would have it. And right now, you're one of the two. We can't get the other person. We need you. They're not going for just any engineer who's qualified. They want the stress analyst engineer. So this is totally true for her. Now, for leveling up, like how does she hit more and more milestones and get those raises? For her, it's embracing all aspects of life. She doesn't have to do anything to impress people. She just needs to actually be very realistic of how she's dealing with stuff. And then specifically, how does she level up her income? Like, how does she grow it? The specific gift is actionable and realistic goals, not future fantasy, but like, okay, this is what we're doing. Here's the plan. Here is how we lay it out, which I think you can see as someone engineering repairs, products, parts. And then meeting deadlines. And then what she needs to do with her money is to be of service and give it freely to people who need it, who are in her circle. So this is not like giving freely to some random person on the side of the world you don't know. It's more like, oh, my parents are in an accident. We should give them a car. Oh, we went out to eat when my great aunt and great uncle came to town. Let me pick up the tab for everyone. Oh, my cousin was over there and we were talking about cameras and I was showing him how to shoot on my Canon and he's like, I'm not gonna have the money for like 5 years. I gotta pay off my student loans. And I was like, I think I can go buy him a Canon. Okay. So you, for Jeanine, if she gives money like that, plays fairy godmother, that actually is what keeps the money channel unblocked and it keeps coming through her. If she starts being like, maybe it'd be wiser not to give the money away, she listens to anyone around her who says that, even from her family, that's what's going to constrict it. She's meant to give. Now, she's also got 3 superpowers, abilities. And again, your chart does not tell you what you're going to do in the world, but it does say you are going to use this in your vocation. So let's see what these 3 abilities are, what these superpowers are, and how she's been using them as an engineer. 1, natural genius that sees the world through a unique lens and has the ability to conceptualize and translate this viewpoint with clarity for the people who want to listen. Okay, she can see how to fix the plane and is able to write that out in the technical order and explain how to do it. Sure. Number 2, gift of learning through experience, which occurs when you're intentional about how to start and finish things and resolve them. Definitely. What this really means is you do something. So, like for her, she goes through a particular fix. It is now filed in her brain. Anytime she encounters an airplane with that specific break again, she's gonna be like, oh yeah, that's how we do it. She's just like adding more and more and more until she becomes this like ginormous technical expert, and it's all there. She can just pull it out anytime she's like, oh yes, that's the identical or very similar situation. So check as well. 3rd check. This goes back to that content theme when we're talking about the emotional stuff. She has the ability for great emotional intelligence, which is developed by stepping into experiences without expectations and then sharing that with other people. So maybe that's up for herself. Maybe it's something she realizes with how to mentor other engineers. Because again, workplace dynamics, it's not just math and numbers, but it's kind of an interesting one to go along with all that. Now, let's also look at our centers because whatever your role is, it needs the ones, like you have to use the ones you're very high in to do this role properly. And if you're not using them in this role, it probably isn't the right role for you. So she's very high in ability to deal with deadlines and pressure. Check. Liaison engineering is pretty much all the mechanics and all the bosses and all the special interests being like, do this thing for me right now. And you'd be like, okay, I'm gonna have to prioritize it. And I have overtime and I have to be able to check out of work and go back to my family without feeling that pressure. She can do that. She's always doing it. She thrives on it. Okay, so check. Next, pretty high in amount of energy for work. Also very good when you're dealing with overtime. Put in a solid day's work. She's had bosses who told her she gets more done than any 2 people they know. She's routinely bored and likes to give me another project. I'm not filling my time. She has a very high energy for work. Okay, last one, high expression of thoughts and ideas and others' communication. You might not pick this one automatically for engineering, but think of it. She's got to go to meetings. She's got to brief superiors. She's got to stand up for what she thinks the correct fix is on team calls. She's got to write it out. So technical writing reports. She actually does have a lot more communication than one might think. So absolutely, this chart is holding true. So that was our 2-4 manifesting generator Jeanine, who is an engineering. And I hope you enjoyed this behind the scenes look at a mini biz reading.